Welcome back to New World Tank Mastery. That's right, I said New World Tank Mastery because there are still several of you guys that are grinding out Aeternum to the bitter end. This announcement of the shutdown happened and you guys are like, well, I got nothing else to do, so it looks like I'm just going to stay here till they kick me out. Well, you're going to need a build. Okay, we did our best in slot build before this whole announcement happened after the first sets of Nighthaven came out and we realized how much New World hates us tanks. That's right, I'm convinced they hate tanks. Couple reasons why. One, we didn't get any love when it came to gearing with these new gear sets and all this cool stuff to achieve. We didn't get anything. No gear set. Two, they nerfed the crap out of us. Overall defenses got nerfed. Our resistances got nerfed. Protection wards got nerfed. Overall, our gem resistance got slashed down. We lost grit with our 300 con bubble. So now we're just getting slapped around even by regular mobs. Overall, no love, just hate. But that's fine. We were dealing with it, right? It ended up being our best in slot gear for season 10 was basically our season 9 gear, and we were farmable, and it was like, all right, cool, no problem. Now fast forward, multiple patches have happened since they said no more patches were going to happen, and they further nerfed us tanks, right? They removed the double enchanted ward, but we all knew that was coming. Let's see, then they decided to completely nerf out any crafting of base enchanted ward, so that was gone. And then on top of it, they said, you know, that best in slot build that you guys had, we're going to nerf that too. We're going to drop in base enchanted ward from the farmable gear in endgame to be worse than enchanted ward 2 charms. So what did that leave us? It left us hanging once again as a tank, wondering, why is there no love for us? Why, you know, like the team needs us, servers need us to tank. Don't New World like devs understand that we kind of want some love too, but it's okay. They're not really working on the game anyways. So because of that, I've crafted I guess this isn't even going to be season 10 best in slot. This is just going to be the final build. The final countdown. That's right. This is going to be the final best in slot build that you're going to have to try to work for. I'm going to tell you how to get it. It's not very hard. It's going to be very time consuming, very tedious, but everything here is farmable, even if you're the last person on your server, you can still farm this gear. Okay? Without further ado, we have a lot to cover, and I'm going to show you the multiple options on how you're going to have this set up, and you do what you want with this info. You guys ready? Let's get into it. Boom. So, if you notice, there is no more Hoplite and no more Glacial Tarn's Frigid Dawn, because those sets are just now inferior with this new /2 enchanted ward. But this is all still farmable gear. Now you're going to see here for the helm, I have the second wind set helm. And you might be like, well, Ty, second wind, how am I going to farm that? Like how do I get to that without a group? Haha. Well, if you go to Reekwater and you see there's this new crafting bench in Reekwater, the Soul Warden bench or whatever they call it, it takes these little tokens and you can farm that doing stuff in Reekwater, and you can get several of these. If you go to that crafting bench and you open up, you'll notice there's a second wind set cache. So you can farm those tokens, you can grab those caches, put on your heavy equipment load, and open them up. And you have a chance of getting the Dread Warden's heavy helm. Now, one thing to keep in mind working into this build is I want you to focus less on having specific perks in these spots on the gear, and more so thinking along the lines of I need to get these specific perks up here, like Anointed Lifesteal, Enchanted 2, Enchanted Ward 2, and Divine 2. I need to work towards getting those on my gear wherever they land, right? So like if you get the Dreadwarden's Heavy Helm and you have, instead of Divine, you have Enchanted Ward 2, all good. Just mark this one off as having Enchanted Ward 2, and then you don't have to put it into something else, right? So for the helm, I suggest running Divine 2 if you can. It's going to give you 5.5% health from all life-stealing healing sources other than, instead of life-steal or consumables, any incoming healing. So if a healer is healing you, like most content is going to be doing in PvE, this is going to increase that healing that comes in, okay? I put Slash Ward in here just as an example so I can show you what the overall resistances is going to be, but obviously depending on the content, you can swap this out for a different absorption gem. So if you're going into, say, a fire, a mutation that's got fire, or you're dealing with a fire boss or something like that, or ice, you could obviously put the corresponding gem into here, okay? So the Dreadwarden's Heavy Helm is also going to give you Shirking Fortification. So after you dodge, you're going to get extra Fortify. And this stacks. So if you have extra Fortification or Shirking Fortification, it's going to keep stacking. It comes with Slash Conditioning, or you can add in Slash Conditioning if you get that extra perk. So if you put the Slash Absorption and Slash Conditioning together, you're just further increasing that absorption of that type of damage. And then Mortal Aggression, your hits are going to grant an additional 1.55% lifesteal, and you're going to gain 7.83% of your max health, 7.83 stamina, and gain 9.35% fortify, and empower for 8 seconds on a kill. So when you kill a mob, boom, you just increase the amount of fortification, your max health, your stamina, and your empowerment, all on just one mob death, right? So great helm here. In my opinion, this is going to be the best option. If you follow these exact types of charms that are in here, you're going to end up with all these here, and I'll go into like what the exact benefits of everything is at the end, okay? Now let's look at the chest piece. Dracul's Burden has Vital Synergy, okay? This is a storyline quest, your final quest. You end up getting this chest piece. So it comes with a defensive slot. You can throw in Enchanted Ward 2. It has Sacrificial Empowerment, so increases your base damage by 1.5%, but your armor's decreased by 1% while below 50% health. But the amount of total armor you're going to have and the way armor's like reduction of damage, it's not really going to be a problem for you as a tank, but it is going to increase your extra damage, which is going to help with threat generation. Overall, it's kind of like a, it's a benefit perk because when you're below 50% health, you're gaining extra 1.5% damage, and you're going to see we have a lot of lifesteal in this build. So while you're below 50%, your overall damage output's going to go up, increasing the amount of healing coming in because of your lifesteal. So it's a good trade-off. If you're above 50% health from your healer just keeping you up, then you're actually not getting a damage increase or a damage reduction to your armor decrease, right? So it's kind of like, if your healer's keeping you above 50%, then it's just kind of like just a perk that's in there. But if you're below that 50, then you're increasing the amount of lifesteal because the overall damage output's going up, okay? I left the skill slot empty because the ones I have slotted is for the sword and shield. Whatever your offhand you decide to go with, then you would throw in whichever skill charm that you want to coincide with the build, or whichever offhand weapon, you can throw it in the chest piece. If you didn't have your other skills in these other pieces of gear. So like I said, this is definitely like you can swap things in and out. But for the most part, if you stick to these exact guidelines and you farm those exact things, then that's obviously going to be the best. But if you have to swap out like, Enchanted Ward 2 on here and then Divine 2 over here, that's fine. You're still getting 5 Enchanted Ward, you're still getting 5 Divine. It just doesn't matter which piece of gear as long as you have those things, okay? Does that make sense? So one other option you can go with instead of Dracul's Burden is from the Elementally Charged set. You can go with the Gray Vessel Breastplate. This is the chest piece that comes with the that set. there's kind of a big trade-off. So I set this as like optional. If you don't have any, if you're not actually using the charge set right here, you don't have 2 of these pieces. In fact, let me move this over here so you can see. All right, if you're not running these 2 pieces, then you're just getting the elemental hunger, right? And that's going to give you 5% less elemental damage as long as you don't have elemental charges. If you don't have another piece in the set, then you're not going to build elemental charges. So you just automatically take 5% less elemental damage, which is nice. It is definitely nice, okay? You also take 2.1% reduced damage while under the effects of grit, which is also nice, but you have to be able to get grit. So, you know, you have to use a weapon set that gives you grit during like heavy attacks or something like that. So this is only up while you have grit going. So just keep that in mind. It does have a gem slot, which is nice. It comes with abyssal conditioning, so it's void damage. Then random perk. The thing is there is a 6.25% chance to get vital synergy. So if you are going for this item, then you're just going to basically keep rolling those caches out of catacombs until you get the breastplate with vital synergy. Do not run this over Dracula's Burden if you don't have vital synergy. Okay? If you didn't get it with vital synergy, then do not run the elementally charged chest piece over Dracula's, because the vital synergy is going to be like your best in slot for the chest, right? If you happen to roll a Grey Vessel breastplate, it has vital synergy, has the Greatsword, abyssal conditioning, gem slot, and elemental hunger. If you're dealing with regular, if you're dealing with an elemental issue where like you're noticing you're dying to the elements, fire, ice, void, lightning, nature, anything like that, then obviously put in the Grey Vessel. If you're just doing regular content, then I would still go with Dracula's Burden so that you get the extra enchanted ward slot. Okay? Or a defensive charm slot. Next up is going to be the gloves. So the gloves, the leg pieces, okay? The gloves and the leg pieces. This is going to come from M3s, right? The chance to drop is from an M3s. I put out a video, last week on the YouTube Shorts, and I was telling people stop farming mutated dungeons right now because it is less efficient. Reason being is that same Reekwater Soul Warden crafting bench right there at the entrance of Reekwater's settlement. You can farm those Soul Warden tokens or whatever they call them. And you can farm those enough, and then you can get a bunch of caches called Mutator caches. Those caches contain M3 drop gear. It is loot bias. So equip your heavy load, heavy helm, heavy everything, then open up those caches and try to get the heavy gloves, heavy leg pieces, amulets, earrings, all kinds of stuff can drop, and it's the same type of gear that drops from Mutated 3. So basically, it was kind of like a love that they sent out, which is, hey, if you can't find groups in M3 because most of the community has left the game, you can still get M3 gear from that crafting bench. Okay, so stop farming the mutateds. Do them, obviously, as you want to test out your gear and see how tanky you've gotten, or you just enjoy doing expeditions over and over again, then obviously do what you want to do. But as far as the efficiency standpoint, it's not very efficient farming mutated dungeons because you can just farm those tokens super fast and you have a very high chance of rolling like a best in slot version, right? So key thing to look for when you open those is whatever the base perk is what it is. Make sure it has a gem slot. If it has a base perk and say 4 charms, it's okay. But I would rather have 3 charms and a gem and a base perk over 4 charms. Okay, so you'll get much better use out of a gem slot than you will having an extra charm slot. All right. So when these drop, if the glove gets Lifestealer's Draught, then you keep it. If it has Lifestealer's Draught and a gem slot, then that is great. If, say, the glove gets Terminal Vengeance or another good base perk with a gem slot, keep it. You can find something on your leg pieces that has terminal or life stealer's draught, because all it takes is one life stealer's draught 2 right here. Because it doesn't stack. You can only have one. So all you need is one piece of gear, so either your glove or your legs, to have this. All hits are going to gain 15% lifesteal. Every hit. Light, heavy, spells, everything. The power of your lifesteals is also increased by 15% as long as you have not used a potion, survival potion, in the last 13 seconds. So if you don't use a pot, you're increasing all your lifesteals by 15%. You're automatically getting 15% extra lifesteal on all hits just with this one perk. Amazing perk. And you're going to see that we're going to further increase that as we go. Okay. On my gloves, I put in accelerated resolve. So when I use my sword and shield accelerate or resolve, then I increase my movement speed and increase my incoming healing, which is going to stack with all these divine stacks. So basically, I'm going to increase my incoming healing by like 60%. Just by using accelerated resolve combined with all these other ones. Okay. Like I said, gem spot, you put that in for the type of damage. Enchanted ward 2, right? I need that extra 2% reduction in light and heavy attacks, and divine 2. So if it has 2 defensive slots, a skill slot, a gem, and life stealer's draught, that is absolutely best in slot. Do not salvage that. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200, right? If it has another good perk and you get life stealer's draught on your pants, cool. As long as you just have one of these. That's why I mean, like, you can swap out some of these. As long as you have one of these, you're golden. Okay. Now let's look at the pants. Same thing. You're going to farm this from those mutator caches. You want a gem slot and a good base perk. Terminal Vengeance is really good. You're going to give 5% increased base damage for every 25% of your max health you're missing. So every 25% as you go down in health, your overall damage is going to go up 5%. So if you're at 25% health, you gain a 15% increase to your base damage. And remember, base damage has no cap. Only Empowerment has a 50% cap. Let me move this over so you can see the boots or the greaves, right? So gain 5% increased damage every 25%. So at 25% health, this is going to stack 3 times, giving you 15% increased base damage, which is going to increase your what? Your lifesteal, right? You're doing more damage, you're getting more health back. So a very, very good base perk to have. Same thing, if you have 2 defensive slots, maybe a third defensive slot or a offensive slot, a gem slot, and then Terminal Vengeance, that'll be best in slot. Or if this one, like I said, is Life Stealer's Draught and the other one has Terminal Vengeance, all good. All good. Okay, so Anointed Lifesteal, you want this. This is going to increase your lifesteals by 5.5%. So remember, we're increasing our healing from a healer by 5.5%, and we're trying to increase our lifesteals by 5.5% as well. All right, big thing to remember. For the artifact, still the unmoved is best in slot. That's going to be still your best in slot, just because the way grit works now, and since we lost it with Constitution, to stop you from a regular base mob just knocking you all over the place and preventing you from attacking and doing skills and doing anything, you're going to want the unmoved. Okay. So you can't be displaced when you take a hit. You also reflect damage back to the target, which is increasing your threat generation. And that's going to reflect damage up to 16% of your weapon damage. Has a 1 second cooldown. So every 1 second you get hit, you do that damage. So it's just free damage. So you can't beat that. Anything free is great. Put in Keenly Empowered, so you gain 12.75 or 74% empower for 5 seconds on any critical hit. Remember, there's no threshold for the amount of crit. As long as you get 1 instance of crit, you're going to prompt anything keenly. So if you get, whether it's a skill, whether it's a light attack, it's a heavy attack, anything that crits or has a proc of a crit, you're going to proc Keenly Empowered. Okay, so it's a really good one to have, especially with Sword and Shield. It already has a high crit chance. Grit Ward 2, same thing, 2.41% reduced damage taken while under the effects of grit. So when you happen to be using grit, you're getting reduced damage. All good. Physical Aversion, not the best. It's not terrible. You receive 3.6% less damage from ranged physical attacks. You know, like I said, not the best, not terrible. There are some people have been, when they get these from the PvP track, some people have gotten defensive charms. I don't know how. Mine came with an offensive charm. So yeah, if you get a defensive charm slot, then go ahead and throw in, it gives you an extra either enchanted ward or divine, and then find an offensive charm slot somewhere else and make sure you put in keenly empowered. Okay, that's just how you kind of deal with that if you get unlucky. All right, so that's your boots. Okay, for amulet. So if you get an amulet that has a protection perk, then your shield, you don't need the protection perk because these no longer stack. They used to stack prior to this last patch on Monday, or last Monday, but they no longer, it's not that they don't stack, it's that there's now a hard cap on the amount of reduction of elemental or specific damage. So 50% is the max. So if I have this and this on my shield, then I'm wasting a perk because this would put me at 60% and I can't get to 60%. I'm topped off at 50. So if you have an amulet that has the type of damage protection you need for whatever content you're doing, if you're doing something that uses fire, something that uses ice, something that uses nature, and you have an amulet that has a protection perk, then that means you can use a tower shield or you can use a different type of shield and you don't have to worry about using the protection perk on that shield. Okay. Me personally, it's easy. I find it very easy to farm amulets. There's a lot of brain dead farming spots you can do in open world, like chest runs. You can do stuff like that. You can farm really good amulets from catacombs. You can use the mutator cache and reek water to get good amulets. You have a lot of options for amulets. So I would say farm amulets to where you're getting multiple amulets with 2 defensive or two defenses and offensive, or one off, or 2 offensive and 2 defenses, whatever it is. Just make sure it's got a gem slot, a good protection perk, and then at least 2 defensive charm slots. Okay, because you're going to throw in divine 2 and enchanted ward 2. Okay, for the ring, best in slot still going to be blood drinker. We are already increasing our amount of lifesteal as it is. So let me move this over here again. So with blood drinker, we're just going to further increase that. We're getting extra 25% lifesteal, and all healing from lifesteal is increased by an extra 5%. Now it says you deal 20% base damage unless the target is diseased, right? So if you put in one of your offhand weapons, plagued crits, right? Then you're going to apply disease. That actual damage reduction is going to go down only by 15% instead of 20. Now keep in mind, this is base damage. So because it's less base damage, it's not, you don't actually lose 20% overall damage. You're really only losing, I think it's 11% is what we calculated it at. Even less if it's 9%ish if you have the target diseased. Then on top of it, if you get this to 800, one of the perks for the ring at 800 is 10% increased base damage. So you're pretty much nullifying all negative things with this ring. Having played crits and having this at gear score 800 on the back end, you're nullifying the negatives. You're just getting the 25% lifesteal and increasing to all lifesteals by 5%. Really good. With it, add in leeching 2, so you're gaining an extra 4% of the damage you deal as a lifesteal, right? So you're gaining 30% here plus mortal aggression 1.5%, plus your 15% here. I mean, you're sitting around a 60% lifesteal. Auto attacking with your sword, even without crits, you're going to be at full health 24/7. So even if you don't have an efficient healer, you can keep yourself alive, right? Enchanted ward 2, enchanted 2 for your light and heavy attack base damage. Keep in mind, this is not empowerment. Okay, enchanted 2 is not empowerment. This is your base damage. There is no cap on base damage. So if you have enchanted 2, you can have as many enchanted 2s as you want, and you will not hit. There's no 50% cap on this. This is base damage. Okay, now say slash damage or lightning damage, things like that. Like an increase, say it's 7% increase to lightning damage. That's considered an empowerment. But enchanted 2, light and heavy attack, this is base damage. So there's no cap. Okay. It's got a gem slot. Keen switch on weapon slot increases your crit chance by 9 seconds. That's amazing. So when you have keenly fortified, keenly empowered, plague crits, all those things, just swapping to that offhand weapon, getting that crit with disease, now you're further reducing any potential negative effects of Blood Drinker. So this is still best in slot ring by far. Or I would say even best in slot artifact in general, especially as a tank. Okay. Now, when it comes to earrings, it's important. We want despised. Okay. This regenerating is like, if you get regenerating, that's great. That's amazing. Regenerating is a great perk. The main thing you're looking for is despised 2. You're going to generate 250% more threat, and you're going to deal 7% more base damage. Remember, base damage has no cap. You're going to deal an additional 7% more base damage to anybody that's taunted. You're the tank. You're in control of taunting. So you're pretty much going to have 100% uptime on this because you're constantly taunting the enemy, especially with heavy attacks. If you're running a Carnelian, everything's going to be doing that increased 7% base damage. Okay. So very, very, very good perk. You want a gem slot. So like I said, despise 2 in a gem slot and say 2 defensive. It doesn't really matter what this other perk is. Regenerating is great. If you don't get it and you get some other, refreshing toast or whatever the hell, all good, right? Like regenerating is amazing, but if you're worried about finding best in slot, it's despise 2, gem slot, 2 defensive slots, and then whatever the heck second perk, all good. Okay. But for best in slot, it would be this right here. Okay. So that's like our basic gear when it comes to armor jewelry. Okay. Now, sword and shield right now is going to be your best in slot primary weapon. It's the best tanking weapon right now, and it's probably going to be that. Like I said, they're not really doing any, major updates or anything like that. Any more content delivery. So they say. I mean, who knows? They might just drop some more weird patches. Like maybe they give us an update on daggers, so they're not like, so crappy. I doubt it's going to happen though. They don't have anybody at the studio really to work on content. So sword and shield is going to be like your bread and butter. All right, and so with the sword, life stealing, hatred 2 are like your 2 like go-to. Get those 2 perks with a gem slot. And if you can get an offensive charm and a skill charm, best in slot right there. That's going to be your best in slot. Life stealing 2, hatred 2, gem, skill charm slot, and offensive charm slot. That is going to be even better than attunement. This is going to be even better than attunement, right? Because remember, attunement is great for elemental damage, but we're not increasing any of our elemental damage. We're only increasing our enchanted, which is our base damage, right? So hatred 2, you're going to generate another 250% more threat. So combined with despise 2, you're getting 500% increased threat. You also deal 7% more base damage to taunted foes, meaning you're going to get 500% more threat generation. You're going to deal 14% more base damage to those taunted enemies. Huge, huge damage increase. For me, I like upheaval. I like being able to transfer buffs. This doesn't work on all content and all bosses, but say you're farming catacombs and I forget what the boss's name, but he does like his putrid puke on you and he stacks you with a bunch of dots. You hit him once with upheaval and his health will go like that because he does base damage to himself and it rocks him. So I like having contagious upheaval. If you're a guy that likes compounding Whirling Blade and you like running Whirling Blade, then throw Whirling Blade in here. Okay. So Enchanted 2 is going to increase your base damage to your light and heavy attacks. So once again, you're stacking all this base damage increase because you can hit 50% empowerment with sword and shield super easy. It takes like, one hit, a heavy attack, a crit, and then that's it. So you're at 50% empowerment if you have like, honing stones and things like that. Okay. So for the gem punishing taunt, if you get a rune glass punishing taunt, you're going to generate another 350% more threat. So you're at 850% threat. You will not lose threat. you will not lose threat. No matter how much somebody heals you, no matter how high DPS is on your team, you will not lose threat. You're an 850% increased threat. And then once again, your attacks are going to deal an extra 2% damage. Okay. So that's the sword. My offhand, in my opinion, I still think Powerstone is like the best offhand because when your health's above 90%, you're going to cause 20% weaken. And it works on both weapons. So you can literally just have that in your back pocket and just run in your sword, and you're weakening the enemy by 20%. You can't beat that. It comes with Enchanted too, so your light and heavy attacks deal an extra 2.29% damage. I put Crowded Bludgeon because I use Bludgeon for tanking in PvE, so I just throw that skill in there. Punishing Taunt, same thing. I will throw in a Rune Glass with Punishing Taunt, so I'm still generating 350% more threat, and my melee attacks are going to deal an extra 2% damage. And then N2 is 6% base ability damage, 12% base damage increase to the final attack in the melee light attack chain. So there has been some theorizing about what actually works on both weapons. So far, it's the base perk, N2, and the infix perk, Heavy Burden, transfer over to sword. Okay? Crowded Bludgeon obviously doesn't. The Rune Glass doesn't, and neither does Enchanted 2. But as it's been confirmed several times that the infix and this base perk here do work on both weapons. Okay? So under N2, you're going to get 12% extra base damage increase. I'm going to keep saying that, base damage increase. Let me move this down here. Right? Base damage increase to your light and heavy attacks, even on sword and shield. Okay? Huge, 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 huge. Now for the shield, this is basically when you don't have enough defensive charm slots because maybe you had too many offensive here, right? And you didn't get to enough divines, enough enchanted ward. Then you're going to want to swap these out for defensive or offensive charm slots. So this is just a charm bucket. That's what I call the shield. It's just charm bucket. If you get shield defense, right, or shield aggression, either one's cool. I like shield defense, so I get an extra 4% damage reduction. All good. But if you get shield defense with a gem slot or shield aggression with a gem slot, it'd be hard to get shield aggression unless you're using a round shield. But, you know, I have heard of people getting shield aggression on tower shields. But shield defense with a gem slot, and then skill gem and either defensive or offensive, depending on what you don't have in your other gear, that's best in slot. Okay. So me personally, I put Fortified and Shield Rush in my shield with the gem slot, shield defense, and then I add in extra lifesteal and then Keenly Fortified. So when I do get that crit, I'm gaining extra fortification. And remember, this procs on any instance of crit damage. It doesn't matter whether it's heavy attack, light attack, or ability. Heartrune, I'm still running Stalwart Heartrune of Stone Form. You can run pretty much whatever Heartrune you want. If you want Grasping Vines, if you're trying to help with mobs chasing after your DPS, whatever. I personally just like Stalwart Heartrune, especially with all the changes in grit and us getting smacked around. It's really nice to have that extra fortification and healing, kind of like a, moment's notice, and the cleansing of like CCs. So Stalwart Heartrune, great. I'll get into the basically the weapon skills that I'm using. But I do want to talk to you about buffs, right? So depending on the content you're doing, but Gold Touch Honing Stone or Strong Honing Stone, you want that 7%. That counts towards your empowerment. So it's a 7% increase to damage. A coating, this is going to be specific to the type of content you're doing. If you're doing, something that has ancients, then you would use an ancient coating and an ancient ward potion, right? The other piece of food is going to be your attribute food. With this attribute setup, I have it set up with a 48 Constitution attribute food, right? And then the other food item is the Desert Sunrise, which is going to decrease the effectiveness of dots on you. And overall, like, one of the best like food items you can still get, because dots can definitely wreck you really quick. Okay. So let's talk about the perks. Your goal is to get 5 divine, 5 enchanted ward, 3 anointed lifesteal. So that is 13 defensive charm slots. You need 13 defensive charm slots. That's your goal. 3 offensive. So 16 charm slots total between all your gear here, right? And that's just for the perks. Depending on how many skill perks you need or charm slots you need, if you need 1 or 2, you're looking at 18 charm slots total between all your gear, okay? That's why farming those mutator caches is going to be amazing, all right? So we want 3 in enchanted too, so we're getting 6.8% increased base damage, right? Not empowerment, base damage. We want 3 anointed lifesteal. So we're getting a 16.5 extra increased healing from lifesteals, which is stacking on our lifestealer's draught. It's stacking on our blood drinker. It's stacking on our anointed. I mean, it's just stacks on stacks on stacks. You want 5 enchanted ward too, so you're getting 10.19% reduced damage taken from light and heavy attacks. That's going to be the max you can get. You want 5 divine too, so you're getting 27.5% extra healing from incoming healing from a healer. This isn't the life stealing. This isn't consumables. So this doesn't count with potions. This is just the heals coming in from a healer. If a healer's, heal bubble hits you for 1,000 HP, it's going to hit you for 1,275 HP, right? So you're increasing the healing coming from your healer, and you're also increasing your lifesteal healing in this build. If you die, then there's something, it's user error. Because even if a healer can't get a heal on you, you're going to be doing so much lifesteal that you're pretty much unkillable. There's no other way to put it. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about these gems. So now there's a hard cap on our total amount of resistance we can have to any instance of damage, whether it's nature damage, fire damage, ice damage, whatever. It used to have a soft cap at 50 in season 10 when they first released it, and then everything else was diminishing returns. Now it is a hard cap at 50. Anything over 50%, you're not going to get any benefit. So just keep that in mind. With the gems, and you're adding in your absorption and also the conditionings. Conditioning counts towards this 50%, right? So that's why we're no longer using our either hoplite or our frigid dawn, is because we were leveraging our conditioning on top of our protections, absorptions from gems. But now that it's a hard cap at 50, there's no point in running. So with this build, right, having 1 conditioning, 1 slash protection from the amulet, and then all the gems having that instance of damage, I'm exactly at 50.967. So I'm at like 0.1% basically, or 1% over the cap, right? I'm at 51%. So I'm pretty much at my 50% cap like this. That's just having 1 conditioning perk right here. So if this conditioning was void, and I'm running a void dungeon, so I have all the void absorption gems, then I'll be at 50%. Okay. So that's how we're running the resistances. That's now our max is 50. So it is what it is. That's part of the nerf. So that's kind of why we're running that. These are the perk stacks. So that's what you need to aim for. So write that down, screenshot it, save the video. I'll put the time stamp so you can reference, go back, whatever. Okay. I don't even know how long this video has been going. I'm trying to make this a shorter one than last time. Okay. We're at 38 minutes. We got to go. Next up is attributes. Okay. So once again, treat your attributes as a difficulty slider. 250. Honestly, that's really all you need in con. You could even get away with 200. I've tanked at 200. No problem. But I like the 250. When I'm running my flail, I'll usually run about 50 focus. It does take away from my strength, right? But lately, honestly, because I don't really hop to my Powerstone that often, except for, when I'm trying to get an extra taunt, or I'm trying to root the enemy or using crowded bludgeon. I don't really sit in my flail very often, so I honestly have not been running 50 focus lately. I just been running 250 con. I get 25 dex for the extra crit chance because I'm trying to played crits. I'm trying to crit keenly empowered, keenly fortified. So having that extra 5% crit chance is money. And I find it gives me a much better result overall in tanking than having 50 focus. And then I dump everything else into strength, right? If I drop con down, I can increase strength again, or I could add into focus. I mean, if at 25 focus, it's only a 3% cooldown reduction, not the best. So honestly, like it's, in my opinion, start at 250 here, get 25 dex, dump everything else you have in strength, and you should be good. Like, you know, if you're using sword and shield and flail. If you're using spear, you could, or, you know, greatsword, you could dump a little bit more into dex if you wanted. If you want a little bit more out of the dexterity scaling. I mean, you could do that. Even Warhammer now scales with strength and dex. If you're using great axe, then you're not going to get any scaling off of dex on the great axe, only the strength. So I would still just stick with 25 dex and then just dump everything into strength. So it just really depends on your second option when it comes to your flail and shield, or whichever weapon. So this is what I'm running on sword and shield. I run Contagious Upheaval. I run Shield Rush. I run Defender's Resolve. I am running Leadership. This is all set up for max empowerment, max crit, and good defensiveness. With that accelerated resolve, I'm getting that, you know, increased haste and also increased incoming healing. Contagious Upheaval, I get to, you know, this is a very strong hitting skill, by the way. This does a crap ton of damage when you land Upheaval. It also has grit, so you're going to take advantage of that grit damage reduction with this skill. If you're a Whirling Blade kind of guy and you really like Whirling Blade, I mean, you can definitely use Whirling Blade. It's an amazing skill. I just like Upheaval. That's just my personal preference. But I know some people, instead of running Upheaval, they'll run Whirling Blade. So you would just take the 3 points from here, put them here, keep everything else the same. For my flail, I run Bludgeon, I run Barrage, and I run Arcane Vortex. I use Barrage for a little bit more mobility and that extra taunt. And then I use the Arcane Vortex for a little bit more utility, some extra healing, some haste, and also if I get 4 ticks on a damage or an enemy, it's going to root and immobilize them for a second, so it helps kind of keep everybody kind of clumped together so my DPS can jam them all together. And then the Impairment, which is nice, on Bludgeon. And like I said, I run Crowded Bludgeon on my Powerstone, so I'm also gaining Empowerment, okay, whether they block it or not. So that's what I'm running right now. This, in my opinion, is your best in slot. Whatever offhand weapon you want to use, I can show you those skill trees real quick. Let me see if I can import in from my other... let's see. Can I import... Where is... Oh, is this the public version? I think because I created a link. All right. What I'll do is I'll put a link in the description to my skill trees for all the different weapons. And you guys can see exactly what my skill trees are for each weapon. See if I have to go back here. Could have sworn... Oh yeah, so this is the public site. So this is the one. I'm going to put this link. I actually have this link in our Discord in the members section. How you do the members section is if you're a member of our YouTube community, which is our subscription, not like the basic channel subscription, but like the paid members area, you have access to our Discord where I post stuff like this, where you just have a nice fancy link to it. So I'll put that in the description to their Discord. But other than that, that's what I got for you today. This is going to be your best in slot right now and probably until the end of New World, because we're not supposed to be getting any more content releases. So they say, but you never know. I mean, you literally never know with this game and this crew. Maybe Bezos will reopen it and, you know, everybody's going to be back and now you're going to have an advantage because you've been farming this for like 6 months, hoping that the next day it doesn't shut down on you. So say hi to your mom for me. Don't forget to like this video if you got any value out of it. I appreciate all the love you guys have been giving me on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. We got a ton of different tank content coming up with all different video games. Check out all the other videos in the playlist, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later. Bye.